All right, so a little bit of a break. I've been working on some other projects, so hopefully we're going to get back to some regular Urantia posting. We have a really interesting passage that we're checking out today about prayer. Let's see what the divine revelation is on the topic of prayer as a personal experience. Please make sure you're liking and subscribing. Community's growing. And leave any questions if you have them. Comments. Let's see. Prayer as a personal experience. There is truly a spontaneous aspect to prayer, for primitive man found himself praying long before he had any clear concept of God, which goes to show the spiritual reality that's dwelling within us, which is more fundamental than religion just being a theology or a philosophy. Early man was wont to pray in two diverse situations: when in dire need, and when he experienced the impulse to reach out for help, and when jubilant he indulged the impulsive expression of joy. Prayer is not an evolution of magic. They each arose independently. Magic was an attempt to adjust deity to conditions. Prayer is the effort to adjust the personality to the will of deity. So, for example, something could be like we have to do something with fire or make some sort of certain condition, and so they're trying to make this thing called magic as a way to bridge the gap between the physical realities. There's some sort of mystical aspect to it. But prayer is like doing that for your personality, not to make fire, but to make you have some sort of more higher connection to deity. True prayer is both moral and religious. Magic is neither. Write that on your heart and embed that in your mind. Forget magic. That's just old-fashioned trying to explain. Could be a higher physics. It wouldn't be a magic. You wouldn't call physics magic. Why would you call higher physics magic? Remember, the laws of physics are exacting. The laws of higher physics are exacting in the universe. So because they're exacting things, there's no need to call them magic. Not that we've discovered all of them, and you're going to discover more. But prayer may become an established custom. Many pray because others do. Even prayer, I wouldn't consider, it's not a magic. I mean, there's certain, they specify, there's various, it's not arbitrary favoritism or anything like that, and you'll see. Still, others pray because they fear something direful may happen if they do not offer their regular supplication. Somebody was telling me about that recently, how in their Christian religion they have to pray while going to church, pray to come back. It's just this, I have to keep repeating compulsively this prayer over and over again, or else I'm going to go to hell. Again, lower. To some individuals, prayer is the calm expression of gratitude. To others, a group expression of praise, social devotions. Sometimes it is the imitation of another's religion, while in true praying, it is the sincere and trusting communication of the spiritual nature of the creature with the anywhere presence of the Spirit of the Creator. It's just communion, people. That's all it is. Communion meaning you're communicating with the divine here. Prayer may be a spontaneous expression of God consciousness or a meaningless recitation of theologic formulas. Now, this is why this Urantia book is genius and exactly what the world needs. We're trying to cut through that. And why are we cutting through that? Is it just to point down at people and say, you're a slave to your theology? No. We're letting go of that rot gut on the top of the cup so the universe can now impart goodness, things that are beyond this to us. That's why we're letting go of this stuff. It's not an attack to make our egos bigger. It's teaching, pointing out the negative so that we can then have room for the positive, because our cup is always full. in the universe, no matter what. No matter, it's only either filled with rot gut type stuff or some percentage of rot gut or good, healthy, clean water. But it always has to be full. And whenever you spill out some of that rot gut, then you're creating that void that the universe has to impart something to fill you up. It's as simple as that. To become higher spiritually, to become more advanced, a more complete, replete personality, it's simply a matter of spilling out the rot gut. You take your effort to spill out the rot gut, and then the universe then imparts the additional piece that you are then, because your cup always has to be full. They fill that void. It may be the ecstatic praise of a God-knowing soul, good thing, or the slavish obeisance, I don't know of that, of a fear-ridden mortal. Which one would you rather it be? It is sometimes the pathetic expression of a spiritual craving, and sometimes the blatant shouting of pious phrases. Prayer must be a joyous praise or a humble plea for forgiveness. It may be that, okay. Prayer may be the childlike plea for the impossible or the mature entreaty for the moral growth and spiritual power. That's mature growth and power. A petition may be for daily bread, may embody a wholehearted yearning to find God and to do His will. It may be a wholly selfish request or a true and magnificent gesture toward the realization of unselfish brotherhood. You see, when you put it like this, people, and you're praying to get the job, you could say, I pray to be in the position to serve my fellow humans, not that I pray to land the job so that I can buy the next big screen TV or whatever it is. Prayer may be an angry cry for vengeance or a merciful intercession for one's enemies. And we don't even have enemies. So-called enemies, we would say. It may be the expression of hope of changing God or the powerful technique of changing one's self. You see, changing God? No. There's no changing of God, not even, that's an eternal attitude, an eternally perfect attitude. So you grow towards that. It may be the cringing plea of a lost sinner before a supposedly stern judge, or the joyful expression of a liberated son of the living and merciful Heavenly Father. Modern man is perplexed by the thought of talking things over with God in a purely personal way. Many have abandoned regular praying. They only pray when under unusual pressure. In emergencies, man should be unafraid to talk to God, but only a spiritual child would undertake to persuade or presume to change God. Okay, so you have that communication just like maybe like you would a therapist. And that is very well and good. But real praying does attain reality. It's not wishful thinking. You're not off in fantasy world. But even when the air currents are ascending, no bird can soar except by outstretched wings. Prayer elevates man because it is a technique of progressing by the utilization of the ascending spiritual currents of the universe. The currents are already there, people. They're already blowing right through you. Praying, then, is making you receptive to it. It's you you're changing aspects of your mind. You're reformulating your neural networks to be more spiritually minded and less materially minded. Genuine prayer adds to spiritual growth, modifies attitudes, and yields that satisfaction which comes from communion with divinity. It is a spontaneous outburst of God consciousness. God answers man prayers by giving him an increased revelation of truth. Look at that. See how the prayer is answered? And that is the ultimate thing to have. I mean, when you have that, then you don't need to get the job. I mean, you don't even need to get the food or the house, because if something, God forbid something happens, it's not really God forbid, because of the fact that you'll just simply bop off to the next planet after this one. And that is why truth is more powerful than any of those things, because you really have a peace which passes all understanding, as Jesus called it, an enhanced appreciation of beauty, and an augmented concept of goodness. Look at that. Prayer is a subjective gesture, but it contacts with mighty objective reality. So again, unity, not uniformity. You do it how you want in your own subjective way, with your own subjective experience. But what you're experiencing there, folks, is objective reality on the spiritual levels of human experience. It is a meaningful reach by the human for the superhuman values, which we can attain here and now. That's not just a far-off thing. Human, but more. You're still a human, but now you have an additional super attached to you. And now you're no longer just human, and you're making choices, and people will observe this. Remember, they say the only true proof that you can offer somebody about the reality of God is your own life. Geez, how does that person have the character in order to not get angry when somebody smites him and so forth? It is the most potent spiritual growth stimulus. Look at that. Words are irrelevant to prayer. So write that in your heart and bet it in your mind. Rosary, any of that. Irrelevant. Completely. And why would they be? I mean, they're just certain sounds. Okay? They are merely the intellectual channel in which the river of spiritual supplication may chance to flow. The word value of prayer is purely auto-suggestive in private devotions and socio-suggestive in group devotions. God answers the soul's attitude, not the words. Such a breaking of the shackles, and that's what we want our spiritual journey. You can let go right now. Brush any shackle you have, brush any negativity that you have off your shoulder. You're at the level now where you can do that because you have found truth. You know that your Godward ascension is your path. And anything else that's getting in that way, deal with it. But move on. Prayer is not a technique of escape. You don't have to go to therapy for 100 years. You can just simply, the past is the dead past. Let's move on from these shackles. Prayer is not a technique of escape from conflict, not escapism type stuff, people, but rather a stimulus to growth in the very face of conflict. And that's what you want. Say, I really got to reach in my soul, Put on your big boy pants or whatever metaphor you want to use. Pray only for values, not for things. For growth, not for gratification. You see how that's where that divinity of purpose and supremacy of action. See what we're trying to cultivate here, folks? We're trying to position ourselves beyond this human level. We're trying to become superhuman here. So yeah, this is written. That's a chief of Urantia Midwayers who wrote that, and that is the beings right beyond us, and as far as these angelic maybe ladder is concerned. But anyways, folks, that's it. That's a little bit about prayer, and you can see how important it is to go to that level of character growth and praying for others, praying for strength and praying for others, but not praying for these selfish types of things. Thanking, reverence, any conversation that you want to have with God. And yeah, that's it. Hopefully you got something out of that. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you the next time.